Okay, so something that Thomas and Friends is most well known for are the crashes, or more specifically, as I refer to it, action sequences. Undoubtedly, the action sequences in Thomas and Friends are really well done, especially in the Marvel series, where, like, they're actually pretty cool, because, like, they can make them crash and break and stuff, and it's pretty cool. In CGI, it's, like, all just, like, one big blend, and they don't really break apart, or, like, or really as impressive as they were before. Yeah, so today I'll be counting down my top 5 favorite Thomas and Friends action sequences. Before we get into all that, be sure to like and subscribe, share this with your friends, check out my Shoppo, check out my DeviantArt, and check out my Twitter. All the links are in the description. Alright, let's start the video now. So before I can actually start talking about my top 5, I need to address the difference between crashes and action sequences in Thomas and Friends, because they're not really the same thing as some of you might expect. Crashes are when a character gets into an accident and crashes into something. You know, like crashing into like buffers, crashing into like a building, crashing to the back of a train, you know, that kind of stuff. And action sequences is any scene with a lot of intense action in it, involved in it. These can include runaways, natural disasters like avalanches and earthquakes, and believe it or not, crashes are also action sequences. While there is sometimes usually short-lived action in the crashes, the finishing crash is all that really matters in considering the entire scene an action sequence. This list was originally going to feature strictly crashes and nothing else, but I wanted to shed some light on some action sequences that, like, just the entirety of action sequences in general. Now, with all that out of the way, let's start the countdown. Alright, number 5 is Henry's crash from the Flying Kipper. So we're starting off this list with the very first official crash in Thomas and Friends. While this isn't really the first action sequence that we got in the show, that goes to Thomas getting stuck in the snow and tears the tractor, this is the first actual crash that paved the way for future crashes in Thomas and Friends. Thanks, Henry. Actually, yeah, thanks, Henry. Sorry you crashed, but, like, good job. Good job on, like, making the future look bright ahead. In this episode, Henry gets to pull the Flying Kipper, a special fishing train that departs late at night. Unlucky for Henry, he had to pull in the winter, and the ice from the cold winter weather froze the points, forcing Henry to go past the signal and crash into the back of the train. The crash happens very quickly, and there's a quick moment of silence, like right after it, that the viewers can see what just happened. You know, like, since this was the very first crash, the technical crash in the show up until this point, to see this one be so severe is, like, crazy in my opinion. Not to mention, they show people talking inside the brake van of the train that Henry crashed into before Henry actually crashed. They got out, obviously. I know Thomas and Friends can be for all ages, but death is still a hot topic for those standards. But the fact that they actually showed humans right before the crash just adds to the scene to make it, like, even better. Can you imagine if they didn't get out and Henry, like, killed them? That would make it, like, both great and also a lot darker at the same time. This probably would have made it up a little bit higher. But it's a kid's show, and for all ages, so obviously it couldn't have been. But like, it's just, like, a hypothetical to think about. Like, oh god, it's kind of makes me shudder a little bit, you know? Yeah, so the crash is not only good for what it shows, but also for what it represents. This was the turning point in Henry's big arc in Season 1. He first needed special coal due to his small firebox or something, I can't really remember. And then he crashes, which gets him sent to be rebuilt, and then he comes back bigger and better than ever. Which I don't know why he said it like that. It's almost as if this crash actually did more good for Henry than it did pain. Almost. Anyways, that's all I can say for this crash. It's very spectacular, and it really made Henry stand out as a major character from this point onward. It's almost as if this episode is like the perfect Henry episode. Alright, number 4 is the Runaway train from Busy Going Backwards. So now we move on to a Runaway action sequence, and oh boys, that's a good one. In this episode, Toad, Oliver's brake van from, like Tom's Friends, is feeling bored of trailing behind at the back of Oliver's train. So the trucks in the yard decide to actually do something nice for once and help him achieve his dreams and go far by purposely breaking away from Oliver as they go up Gordon's Hill. This initiates a runaway where Toad is now rocketing down the main line at full speed, nearly crashing into multiple things before he eventually lands safely into a muddy pond. Okay, there's a lot to take into this whole, like, scene, this whole, like, it's the majority of the episode, so like it's I just say the entire episode. First of all, this whole runaway scene was hilarious. First, it starts out with Toad in the trucks accidentally breaking away from all the restraint, and Toad starts like kind of having a little fun after like he realizes what was just happening, until he sees the closed crossing gates up ahead, which he like literally demolishes by as he crashes through. Like they're closed, so like the cars go by, but then like once the cars go by and it's still closed for a moment, it just like bursts right through it. You know. Then Toad sees Gordon at a water tower and literally almost crashes into him before he's like literally diverted into like diverted onto like another part of the main line. And then he sees James pulling his own train and nearly crashes right into him before he's diverted again. And then Toad passes by Henry where he ends up in a pond, ending his wild adventure. That's kind of all there is to the chase sequence, but it's all very funny and entertaining, which makes it stand out as one of the best action sequences in Thompson Friends. Go watch the episode; it's very, very awesome. Probably one of my top 20 favorites. I'm not gonna lie. Number 3 is the Jet Engine Runaway from Thompson the Jet Engine. You know, like the Runaway from Busy Going Backwards, this one is also very fun. This time, it's everyone's favorite character, Thomas, in the driver's seat in this Runaway. In this episode, Thomas is sent to collect a jet engine from Brenham Docks, but Cranky accidentally flips a switch on the jet engine. That's what makes him a great character. Which propels Thomas across the island at full speed, strangely not derailing a single time. Eventually, the jet engine runs out of fuel and Thomas goes back to normal speed. So this whole action sequence is very controversial in the Thomas fandom from what I heard, but really, are you not seeing Thomas fandom being controversial at all at any point in time? Am I right or am I right? Tell me. Am I right or am I right? Tell me. So yeah, fans seem to like either love it for being entertaining or hate it for being, you know, unrealistic. I'm obviously in the favorite category, as shown by the fact that it is on this list, but I can see why people dislike it. I mean, this isn't the most unrealistic, but I mean, this isn't the most unrealistic piece of Thomas media out there. I mean, have you seen Big World Big Adventures? In my opinion, this whole action sequence is very fun. Thomas just rocketing around the whole island with no care or concern for derailing or anything is just so funny. Not to mention, he puts Gordon in a state of bewilderment when he rockets past him before the jet engine runs out of fuel. So overall, this action sequence is pretty good in my opinion. It's what makes Thompson the Jet Engine the best episode of Season 6 of Thompson Friends. A lot of people dislike Season 6, but I kind of like it, and this episode is kind of like the defining factor for it all. Alright, number 2, we're getting to tattoo. The chase scene from A Close Shape for Duck. The Duck and Diesel arc was probably the best part of Season 2, and was really solid in my opinion. While we never got to see Diesel get his comeuppance, we at least got to see both a chase sequence and a crash from Duck. That's why he's a good character. In this episode, Duck helps Edward take some trucks up a hill, but the trucks break away for no reason in particular, and then start chasing after Duck for no reason in particular. They're just doing it. So Duck runs for his freaking life, and the trucks. Why did I say ducks? The trucks catch up to him. Duck almost crashes into the back of James's train, because like James is conveniently there, but he is luckily diverted into a siding that leads directly into a barbershop, where he then crashes. Okay, but anyway, this whole scene is very intense up until that kind of ending right there. You can tell, like, with the Runaway music in play and the serious tone of the chase, you can tell that something bad might happen at any second. While there is a scene afterwards where Duck gets shaving cream all over his face due to an angry barber, which is kind of stupid, but whatever. This whole chase scene is very well done. The whole chase scene makes A Close Shave for Duck one of his best episodes in the show ever. It gets my vote for the best runaway chase in all of Thompson Friends. Not the best action sequence, but the best, like, runaway thing. Okay, so before we get into number 1, let's go over some honorable mentions. So first we have the Runaway James Crash from Old Iron. You know, it's pretty fun. It's based off of a, not really based off of, I don't think, but like, it's pretty fun, yeah. I think this is kind of what inspired, like, the movie Unstoppable and, like, the Crazy Eights, like, thing that happened. Then we also have James's Crash from James and Mess, one of the classical ones and one of my favorite. We have the Skarloey Avalanche from Snow. If you see me on Demon Knight, I really like that episode, so the avalanche is pretty well done. All the snow just crashes on top of Skarloey, and then he's, like, totally fine. That's both funny, but also pretty serious at the same time. You also have Gordon's derailment from Gordon Takes a Tumble. It's a masterpiece because like he first like he goes off the rails and he's still going, so he crashes through like multiple things before he eventually stops in like dirt in like a garden or something. And it's hilarious and also very like well done at the same time. We also have Arthur's crash from the Spotless Record. He crashes into the back and then like weird like fruit stuff or just like goes everywhere and it's kind of gross but funny at the same time. We also have Cranky's fall from Cranky Bugs, where like you know like the ship crashes into Henry. Oh wait, no, not Henry. Cranky, and Cranky just tips over. And last we have Gordon's panoramic crash from A Better View for Gordon. You know, like where like he crashes through like the station and gets like, help me, please. It's actually based off a real crash in Paris. Like you know that crash from the movie Hugo. That's actually what like the whole entire like crash was based upon. Just the crash in Paris. And now, number 1 is the rock slide from Heroes. Who would have thought that the troublemakers, Bill and Ben, would be in the center of a natural disaster in an episode? So, in this episode, Bill and Ben are at the Shiny Clay Works when all of a sudden a rock slide occurs. Bill and Ben quickly rescue all the workmen before the rock slide buries the entire core in epic fashion. So what makes this my favorite action sequence in all of Thomas and Friends? Well, shut up, I'll tell you. For starters, this whole situation is very severe. I've never encountered a rock slide in my life before yet, but from a perspective, there might be some flying rock falling out from the rock slide. There's dust everywhere that can get into your lungs and like can stop you from breathing, I'm assuming, if that's how it works. And stuff, animals, and even humans could potentially get buried under all that. So naturally, Bill and Ben are working quickly to get everyone the heck out of there. However, there was one person they almost left behind, and I was on the edge of my seat, hoping for that one guy to make it out alive in the end. He does, thankfully, but could you imagine what would have happened if he didn't make it in an alternate universe where Tom's Friends is way more darker than it is already? Crazy. Oh my god. Like, when I first watched it, like, I did watch that episode as a kid, and but like, then when I first watched it, I didn't even hear that, like, the guy made it just in time. I just thought, like, they left him behind and he died. And I'm like, no way. But then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, okay, thank God, he made it out. But I don't know why my memory, like, got rid of that. That's kind of weird. It's kind of dark. I was a weird child. Yeah. Also, since Bill and Ben are always causing mischief and stuff, you wouldn't really expect them to be so brave and rescue everyone. Heroes is probably their best episode featuring them, in my opinion, due to it featuring them as, you know, valiant soldiers rescuing people from a potentially dangerous rock slide that could have literally killed everyone. All of this that I've said is what makes this whole action sequence my favorite in all of Thompson Friends. Crazy to see Bill and Ben of all characters in number 1, not gonna lie. And those were my top 5 favorite Thompson Friends action sequences. I actually just now realized that my number 1 pick isn't really as talked about in the fandom as the others, but I think it's nice that I have a unique opinion. Really, all of the action sequences in Thompson Friends are amazing. Well, if you exclude the CGI series and maybe some hit-and-run crashes, but even then there's still some pretty good ones. Anyway, that's all for today. Be sure to like and subscribe, share this with your friends, turn on notifications, check out my Strapo, check out my DeviantArt, and check out my Twitter. All the links are in the description. I will see you guys next time.